Hello and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and today we return to the extraordinary Sudoku series, well in fact the most extraordinary Sudoku series by the Sudoku Professor Richard Stolk. This puzzle today is from his Sudoku variant series, which is up to close to number 300. Every single puzzle with a different rule set, quite extraordinary. And if you look at the ratings for these puzzles, which appear every week at the moment on Logic Masters Germany, they are always off the charts. Richard is just so respected, rightly, in the world of Sudoku construction and Sudoku setting. It is crazy. And yeah, I'm looking forward to trying this. It's got a weird rule set that I think you're going to enjoy. Richard, indeed, is going to be appearing in our Kickstarter book. I'm delighted to tell you that. And yesterday we added some new stretch goals. Definitely check those out. I'm rather worried, in fact, about one of them, because it will mean that Mark and I have to create at least 25 new videos to accompany the book. So yeah, if we reach one of the stretch goals, we've agreed that we will provide a video for every single new puzzle, as well as, of course, the videos for all the puzzles that exist at the moment. Yeah, so that's quite an interesting one, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we manage to hit that target. The other thing I will mention is that there is a free addition to the book. Originally we planned 25 puzzles to be included in the book, but there was one puzzle that we missed by mistake, by Alex Rapper, so that one's going in the book anyway. So there are 26 puzzles now, so if you were umming and ahhing about whether or not to support the Kickstarter campaign, and it was, that 26th puzzle might be the straw that breaks the camel's back. You never know. There's a card on the screen right there if you want to check it out. Now, let me read you the rules to Richard's puzzle. What we have got is normal Sudoku rules apply. The small clue in the top left corner of a cage indicates the sum of the digits in that cage. And within each cage, all digits must be different. So far, it's completely standard killer Sudoku. It now gets interesting. Now, the digits in the cage must be placed in a way that they are all horizontally or vertically connected in an increasing order, such that they form a snake-like pattern of one cell wide. Now, that sounds complicated, but it isn't really, especially if you're familiar with a thermometer in a Sudoku, because basically what Richard's rules here are saying is that every single cage, every single killer Sudoku cage in this grid, we should be able to draw a thermometer entirely within it, i.e. encompassing every single cell. So if you remember the rules of thermo Sudoku, you start with a bulb somewhere. Let's look at this 17. Imagine this was the bulb. Then we'd have to draw a line where we would increase from as we moved along the thermometer away from the bulb. So the bulb would contain the smallest digit. Let's imagine that was a 1. This might be a 2, and let's say the thermometer then went downwards. That could be a 4. I don't know, I haven't done my maths very well here. In fact, this might actually break. So I think that will work, won't it? So this would imply we'd drawn a thermometer with a bulb here that went like that, and that would be valid. But we must be able to draw a thermometer in every single killer Sudoku cage that we create. So if for example we concluded this 17 cage was actually filled like this, we would have broken the puzzle, because there is no way to draw a valid thermometer in here. Or within Richard's rules, if we read Richard's rules, we have not placed the digits in such a way that they are all horizontally or vertically connected in an increasing order, because although we increase from the 1 to the 7, we most certainly don't increase after that. We go down again in whichever direction we choose to go next. So that's how the rules work. I am certainly going to think about them in terms of thermometers. It's up to you how you think about them. Now with that, I do recommend playing this. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking and see how to solve this puzzle. Now, okay, my eyes are drawn immediately to the 29 cages, and I think that's because I do too much killer Sudoku, and I know the number 29 is very useful if it's in a 4-cell cage. However, these cages are not of size 4, so this is not where we should look. 22 in 3, that must have a 9 in it. There are 2 ways of getting to 22 in 3 cells, 967 and 958. And in fact, using the thermometer condition, you can't put the 9 in the middle, because however we draw the thermometer, then we will not have a strictly increasing sort of thermometer. Now, what next? We can, in fact, what next? We've got an enormous cage here, 45 cage, so that's going to be interesting. So that's going to have to sort of wend its way all around. It's going to be a thermometer that increases obviously in linearly in steps of 1 each time. I don't see how to use that. 31. That's interesting. 31 in 5 cells does need a 9 in it, I think, because 8765, if we add to 26, so if we're going to get to 31, you'd have to repeat the 5, or which you can't do. So there must be a 9 in here, and we know therefore the 9 must be at one end or the other. Oh dear, this is no, hang on. Now, I think what we might have to do, because if we think about this, the digits that are the most constrained are 9s and 1s. Now, which cages definitely have to have a 1 in? Well, 17 in 5 definitely needs a 1. 18 in 5 definitely needs a 1. The way I think about this, by the way, is I know that from doing a lot of Kukuru and Killer Sudoku over the years, that the minimum 6-cell sum you can make is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which adds to 21. So that means if we think about a 17 or a 5-cell 17 cage, and we try and create this without using a 1, we'd have to, we know the minimum we can make 5 cells add up to is 20, because if the minimum we can make 6 cells add up to is 21, and then we remove 1 from that, obviously we get the minimum there. And in fact, we can go further therefore, can't we? That is interesting. So let's use that logic again. Does a 5-cell 17 cage have a 2 in it? Well, of course it must do. Because if 6 cells add to 21 and we lop a 2 out, we're going to have 5 cells adding to 19 as a minimum. So that's going to break it. In fact, a 17 must have a 3 in it as well. By that logic, the 18 has a 1 and a 2, but not necessarily a 3. So there are actually, look, we've got these, they're all the same shape, and this one's the same shape. 19 needs a 1 in it, but doesn't need a 2. Okay. So is there a restriction then? I'm going to think about this one first. The fact that this crosses cell boundaries might make it more complicated, but let's look at this one. Where does the 1 go? We know, in fact, we know this one needs a 1, a 2, and a 3. So the 1 can never go in this cell, because if the 1's here, what's its next move? If it goes in here, it's in a cul-de-sac, and then, so yeah, if this is a 1 and then it goes here, we know that these two squares are going to have to be bigger than 2, so we haven't got a strictly increasing sequence here. We've got a sequence that goes, in fact, downwards and then upwards. So it can't go that way, and if it goes any other way, this cell is going to be a problem. It's isolated. You can never isolate a cell with this rule set. So this is never a 1. The 1 could go there, could go here. No, it can't go there either. That's interesting. Look at that. It can't go there because however it moves, once it sort of does that, it isolates one of those two cells. And if it goes downwards, it isolates one of these two cells. That is weird. So there's like a chessboard effect going on here. So the 1 in the 17 cage can go in one of 3 places, but it can't go in those 2 places. So the 2, which we know must be in here, must be on the opposite chessboard colour to the 1. So the 2 can only go in 2 places, but the 1 can go in 3. And then the 3 must be back in those cells again. And surely this can't be 3, because if that's a 3, yeah, the only way that this can be a 3 is if we've gone 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, and then these two cells are isolated, and we can't make a strictly increasing sequence. So this is not 3. 3 is in one of those two cells. I suspect there's a lot of logic we can do around this idea, and goodness only knows how it applies in the top of the grid. So it must be the same in that. We've got this strange chessboard effect going on, and it must work the same in this one as well, except we don't know where this one doesn't need a 3, so the 2 must be in one of those squares. Now that's interesting. That is interesting. Look at this square. Can this actually be a 1? The answer is no. If this is a 1, this has to be a 1 in the 18 cage. It's the only place a 1 could go. And now where are we going to put the 2s in the 17 and the 18 cage? Well, we can put them in, but they're not going to obey the laws of Sudoku. This would have to be the 2, and that would have to be the 2. And we've got a 2 repeated in column 6 and box 2, which won't work. So actually, this can't be a 1 now. So I've got a 1-3 pair. I've got a 1-3 pair in the 17. So now this... Yeah, so now where does the 2 go? The 2 must go in the corner. Because if the 2 goes here, however I do this, whether this is 1 or this is 1, I'm isolating a cell. So this can't be a 2. This must be a 2. Which means these two squares... okay, so it means these two squares have to add up to 11. And they have to increase. So it's either going to be 4, 7 or 5, 6. That is, I mean, this is very, very unusual, and I love it for that reason, because, you know, most Sudokus you do, especially killer Sudokus, you approach them in a very similar way, and you don't have to sort of think in any innovative way. But here, this is definitely interesting. It's not normal to have to think about chessboard parity in a killer Sudoku. Now, if this... Can we get a handle then on where... I can't see a way of narrowing down this 18 cage, even knowing that this is a 1-3 pair. Can we do anything with this cage? It'd be very helpful. If I can eliminate this from being a 1, I get the same 1-3 pattern. So let's try that. If this is a 1, 1 would be there, 1 would be here. Yeah, it works the same way. If this is 1, this would have to be 1, and now the 18 would have to have a 1 here. But now, where does the 2 go? Is this 18 and 17 interacting again? The 1 in this... the 2 in the 18 now can't go here, because if it goes 1, 2, we've isolated a cell. We can't continually increase as we cover this cage. So the 2 has to go there, which is a problem because the 2 here has to go there, and that repeats the 2 in the column. So I've no idea, by the way, if this is how I'm meant to do this puzzle, but it does feel like the interaction of these 1s and 2s is... It could well be deliberate. Now that gets me a 1-3 pair here. Now this can't be the 2 for exactly the same reason that we had up there. So this 2 goes in the corner. Nobody puts 2 in the corner. Except me. Now, so here we've got, again, this must be the high digit, mustn't it? This must be 6 or 7. This must be 4 or 5. Exactly the same way. Unfortunately, these don't align at all. Two in the 45 cage is now... Oh, actually, no, it's more restrictive than that, isn't it? Because of the 2 in the 45 cage can't go there because of this 2, and it can't go there because of this 2. So the 2 is in one of 2 cells. I can't really notate this very clearly, but let us just... So if this is the 2, we're going to have an alignment of the 1s, which would force this to be a 1. 2. No. Oh my goodness me. Is that right? It is. Good grief. Okay. You can never put a 2 in a corner. In fact, you can never put... oh, this is bizarre. This is absolutely bizarre. Okay, I could actually have started... Sorry, I could have started, I think, in this 45 cage. Because there is a weird chessboard parity going on in this. I hadn't realised this at all, but look, if you try and put a 2 on whichever colour of the chessboard this is, it breaks. You can't fill this with a thermometer now. Let's try it and I'll prove it. Obviously the 1 here is exactly sort of isomorphically equivalent to this square. It's just, it's in the centre of a run of 3. So we can examine this in exactly the same way we could examine putting the 1 here. So how would we then move? This square now has to be the 9. You can see that because it's a cul-de-sac. The 3 has got to go here. This would have to be the last point on the thermometer, which makes this the 8. So how are we going to join this 3 to this 8 with a single continuous string? And you can start to see it now. It's just not. It just can't do it. It doesn't matter how you try and do it. It just will not work. So rather bizarrely, we now know, and this is the same, it wouldn't matter actually if we hadn't got a 2 pencil marked in here. You simply can never put a 2 on those yellow squares. Therefore you can never put an even digit on these yellow squares. Therefore the even digits in the 45 cage are in those squares exactly. And more the point, where does the 2 go? So it goes here. So we can eliminate the 2's from these squares. The 1 now has to connect to the 2 and has to be in one of these 3 squares. Oh my goodness me. Now look, this can't be a 1. That cannot be a 1. And the reason it can't be a 1 is now however I build the thermometer in the 45 cage, this cell or this cell has to be a 9. Because if I go 1, 2, 3, this is an end. If I do that with a 3 here, this is obviously going to be the end of the thermometer I'm going to build. So this would have to be a 9. And of course, if I do it the other way, this will be a 9. And I can't put a 9 in column 8 in the 45 cage. So this cannot be a 1. This is just beautiful setting. It's beautiful. I'm a bit lost for words actually because it's so unusual. I mean, how on earth did he know this? How did he find this out? This is why he's the Sudoku Professor, because he knows things that we don't know. And our job is to learn them from him. So now we're going to have the same issue. If I put the 3 here, it's the same problem. As soon as the 3 is in the middle now, I'm going to have a 9 in one of those 2 squares again. It doesn't, so this can't be a 3. If that can't be a 3, the 3 must go in those squares, and we have a 1, 2, 3 triple in column 8. Good grief. So the 4 now must be in one of those squares, so it's not there. I'm tempted actually to fully notate this because we know these 3 squares have all got to be odd digits. So they've got to be 5, 7 and 9. And you can see, I'm not sure what we can see, but we can see. That's good. It's good to see when you're solving Sudoku. Right, now hang on, look, can we do some... And we might be able to do some more geometry on this cage, but I was thinking about doing geometry on this box. Let's just use Killer Sudoku. The yellow cells, the yellow cells have got to add up to 45, because in the finished solution, if we looked at those yellow cells, we would see every digit from 1 to 9. We know that digits 1 to 9 add up to 45. So that means here we've got 31 plus 2 is 33. In order to get to 45, those three squares have got to add up to 12. Well, if this is a 9, these would have to therefore be a 1 and a 2, which they can't be. So this is not 9. Ah, this is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. If this is 7, how are we going to make these add up to 12? Well, if this is 7, these two now have to add up to 5 without using a 2, which is fine in theory. We could put 1 here and 4 here, except look what we've now done to our invisible thermometer. We've got a thermometer that starts here. It goes 1, 2, 3. Now this 3 and 4 are not connected. This is not a toroidal situation where we can pop out the top here and drop in the back here. So this is not now a valid thermometer, and therefore it cannot do this. And if it cannot do it, this square here cannot be a 7. That's a 5, which means these have to add up to 7. So this can't be 8. Ah, okay. So 5 comes out of those two squares, which makes a 7. Yeah, if these are 7 and 9, the only way that we can connect a 7 and a 9 in a thermometer is via an 8. So the digit between them must be an 8. And therefore this square here must be a 4 or a 6. So this is now going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or the other way round. I can't remember which way I went round, but you know, it either does that or it does that. And then it continues. Oh, 7, 8, 9 triple here means this square's a 6, which doesn't quite complete it, but it does tell us that this 17 is a 6, 5 version of the... Ah, and it doesn't resolve the top one. Bobbins. Oh, it must be close to... Ah! Oh, no, I just had an idea, because look, I've not placed 8 or 7 in this cage. And the 8 and the 7 are therefore going to have to go next to the 9, so that we can write the 7 in the corner. Because whichever one of these is a 9, it's going to go, if this is a 9, it's going to go 8, 7. If this is a 9, it's going to go 8, 7. So the 7 is always in the corner. I'm putting all the digits in the corner in this puzzle. No, look, we can do more. Killer Sudoku on this box. These add up to 45. 29. These two are going to be the opposite to these two. We know these add up to 7. Therefore, these also add up to 7. You know, if this is 3, 4, this is going to have to be 1, 6. So we've got 7 plus 29 is 36, plus 2 is 38. This has got to be a 7. That's interesting, because it puts a 7 in the 22 cage. So this is 6, 7, 9, and we know the 7 must go in the middle in order to create a valid thermometer. 9 must be on the right-hand side of box 6 now by Sudoku. Ah, which means that's not 9. So this is 9. Once we get the 9, we know where the 8 goes. 8 must live in the 20 cage on the left-hand side by Sudoku. I've got a 1, 3 pair there, look. Oh, and we've got a 4, 6 pair. So these top 3 squares here have got to be 1, 3, and 8 in some order. And well, that can't be 3, which is not very useful, because if that's a 3, we can't build a thermometer. It would have been more helpful if I could have got rid of 8 from there. These two squares by Sudoku have got to be 4 and 5. You can see I'm running out of ideas with this. So now, okay, so those squares are 2, 4, and 5. Okay, sorry about this. I sort of feel like I definitely feel like I'm missing something about this box now. I presume there might be a way of me working out which way round it goes. But I can't quite see what that way is. I want to be able to... Oh, bobbins, bobbins, bobbins! This is really annoying because I feel like I'm on the cusp of like really getting into this puzzle and understanding it. I've got 1, 3, 4 and 6. Oh yeah, okay, where does 4 go in this box? It's got to go here because there's a 4 in one of those. If that's a 4, that's a 3, and that fixes all of the box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 must live in one of those squares. This 3 fixes the 3 and the 1, so we get our thermometer now built in the 17 cage. These squares add up to 20, including an 8. So the other 2 cells along with the 8 have to add up to 12 without using an 8, because we'd repeat the 8, or a 9. So this is a 5, 7, 8 triple, and we must put the 7 in the middle, which means that square is a 6 by Sudoku. We can put a 1 at the top. This one here eliminates a 1 from the 18 cage. Now, does that do anything to the position of the 2? So if this is a 1 now, the 2 would have to be there. Oh no, it doesn't. If this is a 1, the 2 has to be here, which is not helpful. Okay, let's carry on anyway. These 2 squares are 4 and 7, I think, which means these squares are 3, 6 and 9. This one is in a cage. Okay, this can't be a 3, because the only way this could be a 3 is if it's the lowest digit in the cage, and we then built a thermometer out of the 3. And 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 add up to a lot more than 19, so this is not 3. These 2 squares here are 1, 2 and 4. And okay, where do we go next? We need to... I don't know is the answer. 7 has got to be in one of these squares. So we've done quite well with those squares there, but not quite well enough. 2 is nearly... everything is nearly restricted. Oh, this 3 means there is a 3 in our 18 cage now. Now that might be important, because that means... oh, maybe it's not. But where does the 3 go? So if this is a 1, it must go 2. Oh, no, it could go either way. Bother. I don't think this can be a 3. No, that one can't be a 3, otherwise we can't build a thermometer. Where does 9 go in this box? You can never put a 9 in the 18 cage, so 9 must be on the left-hand side. 9 must be in one of those squares. So if this was 8, we'd have to put 4 here. And then we'd have to go 3, 2, 1. So we'd have to go 3, 2, 1. Which I can't see what's wrong with that, I have to say. If this is 1, this has to go 2... and then we don't even know how we make up the components of the 18. So there's something going on. Maybe it's these squares. I don't think it is, but let's look at these. These have to be 3, 8 and 9. Ah, yeah, no, having said that, it is resolved. Because I have to build a thermometer out of this square. So this square has to either be the lowest or the highest digit in the p pentomino. Well, if it's a 3, that square is an 8. And that's obviously not going to be an immediate problem. So it can't be a 3, so this must be a 9, which means this must be an 8, this must be a 3, that must be a 5, that must be a 4. This 3 gives us the 1 here. That means that's not 3. This square is not 1 anymore. That might... Oh, yes. Which is the 1 in this? It's got to be there. That's got to be the 1. So if that's the 1, we know there's a 2 in there. So the 2 has to go here. The 3 now can't be here. 3, 4, 5 to complete column 6. That's not 5. This is not 2. That's so surprising that I could just fill in that P pentomino. It's just a beautiful idea. Now I know what I might be able to do here. If that's 5, surely I've got to... Yes, look, if this is 5, it breaks. This is an 18 cage, so my 2 options now would be to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that only adds up to 15. Or 1, 2, 5, and then 2 digits higher than 5. So let's try 6 and 7. Well, the problem there is that already adds up to 21. So this can't be 5. And if this can't be 5, that means this has to be 5, which means this has to be 6 to make this cage add up. Which gives us the 6 and the 9, look. Now the 18 cage comes back into its own. 1, 2, if this is 4, these have to add to 11 using digits higher than 4. Well, the only way of doing that, both digits have to be higher than 4 or we will break the continuous sequence, would be with 5 and 6, which is impossible now. There's a 6 in the column. So this is not 4, this is 3. These have to add up to 12 without using 3, 9 or 5, 7. These are 4, 8, and we know the order. So we've actually, I think, started to make progress here. That's not... Oh, sorry, that's not 5. 2, 4, 5. These squares have got to be 1, 7 and 9. That can't be 1, that can't be 7, that can't be 9. But the 1, 7, 9 does resolve the 7 and the 4 at the bottom. That's resolved. That's got to be 4. These squares here have got to be 2, 3 and 9. Again, we can do some eliminations there, but we can't... we can get the 9 there, actually. So 9 must be in one of those 3 cells. And these squares here have got to be 5, 6 and 8, which means the 6 must go in the centre. These are a 5, 8 pair. And maybe... maybe this one now. Because this 4 in the corner is interesting, isn't it? If this was an 8... then the only way this could work as a thermometer would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, which doesn't add to 29. So this is not 8, this is 5, which means the direction of the thermometer is going this way round, isn't it? Because otherwise, if this was the bulb of the thermometer, we would isolate a square. So this must be 3. This must be higher than in fact, look, we can see we've got 12. We need to get to 29. So the only way is if these two add up to 17. They've got to be 8 and 9, which is, well, it's a little bit helpful. It gives us the 8 and the 5 there. These squares along the top here have got to be 5, 6 and 7. Let's put them in. That one can't be 5. That one can't be 7. So these have to be 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that's rather interesting because that means this is a 9 in order to get to 19, and now we know that's a 4, we need to build a thermometer. This must be not 4 then. So this can't be 2 because then we can't make a sequence, so that must be the 3. This must be the 2, this must be the 1, this must be the 2, this must be the 3. This is a 2 by Sudoku. That's a 6 by Sudoku. That's a 5. And I think we're on the home stretch now. Yeah, look, this can't be a 7. Because if it's a 7, we're going to this would be a 6. And that sequence there is not in a thermometer that's possible. So this must be 1. The thermometer must bend round like this. So if this is 7, this would be a 2, which looks possible. And if this is 6, this would have to be... this would have to be 3, and it can't be 3. So this is 2, this is 7, this is 6. That gives us the 4 over there. The 5 and the 2 get resolved. The 9 and the 7 get resolved. And I think we're nearly home and hosed. We need 7 and 8 there, so we can do that. Those 2 squares at the top have got to be 3 and 5, which we should be able to do as well. These 2 squares here have got to be 4 and something. 4 and 9. Yep, we can do that. 9, 4, 4, 1, 1, 6. And we tick check. And that's how to solve just a beautiful puzzle. My goodness me. There is so much original stuff in that. Loved it. I absolutely loved it. I felt like I was back at school, just as a complete novice, being told some marvellous secrets of the universe. Thank you, Richard, as usual. Incredible puzzle. Let me know in the comments how you got on, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.